So I'm sure many of you know about the professional shooter Jerry Michalak, who's an extremely competitive and successful shooter who has achievements in three-gun, speed shooting. He has like 5 officially sanctioned world records in revolver shooting alone and over 15 unsanctioned records with anything from a 9mm to a 50 caliber BMG Barrett. Um, Although you may know his wife also is another world-class shooter with many accomplishments, a serious record to her name. I can't repeat all of them for both of them. This would take forever. But you may not know that her maiden name is Clark. And why is that all relevant? Well, that makes her the daughter of James E. Clark Sr. So James Clark served in the United States Marine Corps in Saipan and was the former United States Marine National Champion bullseye shooter. After the Marine Corps, of course, he found himself in business for himself and in 1950 established Clark Custom Guns. Since then, in those 70 years, they have repeatedly built guns that have claimed national level championships, delivered to top-notch customers, and these are serviced by real national champion level competition shooters. And they made high quality firearms affordable to the average shooter. And I think that's important today when people are trying to enter into that competitive area and still aren't sure where to go. There's so much that we see on YouTube and other places where there are a couple and several key firearms to use or select from. But what else is there that's available? So in 2000, being the three-gun world champion, he was also awarded Pistol Smith of the Year by the American Pistol Smith Guild. And also, I can't remember the other one, the Outstanding American Handgunner Award. So although he has passed away, Clark Custom Guns is still owned and operated by national champion shooters of the Clark family. And I'm sure you're wondering about this case, and it must be pretty obvious by now. But in '53, custom conversions on the Ruger Mark I pistol was a first effort. And then in '55, the first ramped 1911 barrel came out of Clark. In the '60s, the early '60s, the 6-inch long slide model 1911s were built. Machine checkering was introduced. Threaded cone-shaped compensators in 1980, four-finger sear springs in 85, and through 79 to 87. And actually, some things I've read was earlier than 79, back in the early days of the Ruger 1022 becoming a popular firearm. They began developing, or Jim began developing competition level barrels and other things for the 1022. But through those years of 79 to 87 was the perfection of the heavy barrel conversion for the Ruger 1022. And then throughout there, other things in 2008, conversion of CZ shotguns to the Clark double rifle, the first clamp-on carbon fiber handguard systems for the AR-15, the development of the first aftermarket Smith & Wesson Model 52 barrel with a 1 in 10 twist, and it goes on and on and on. So what's this about? I had some Christmas money, and I shoot NRL 22, and I currently shoot with a Bergara BMR. Great rifle, and I'm doing rather well with it. Some other videos, I've switched the standard stock out to a Boyd at 1 so I can increase the length of pull to where I need it. It's got a Bushnell Match Pro glass on top, a Bixen Andy trigger, Dakota trigger, which is just sweet. So the gun is really, really nice. Not quite a Franken gun, but a Franken rifle, but it's a good shooter. And with a little bit of Christmas money sitting there, I thought, what what is out there? And I began looking on the internet for what's out there, and I'm not going to name the particular favorite rifles that are out there. You're well aware of who those manufacturers are. And I happened across a video where someone was shooting a Clark. And I believe the video was on YouTube, Day at the Range. And I was quite enamored with the stock, the fluted barrel, etc. And so I did some research on that and began to understand the backstory of Clark Custom Guns. Gave him a call one day and found out that they're currently not producing any because steel coming into the country from Germany is quite challenging. And we talked at length about that and just shooting in general. And the gentleman's name on the phone was Ben, and he's the 1022 guy there. And we talked at length just about 22s and other things in shooting in general. Very pleasant and very accommodating to the conversation. Actually, he drove a lot of it, which I found quite entertaining for myself. And he goes, well, you can put your name on a barrel, and one comes in, we can start working that up. And I'm like, well, that is a good possibility. And then he says, wait a minute, I've got one out in the shop. And he said, what barrel are you shooting now? And I said, I think the Bergara is 16 and a half, 16 and a quarter. I couldn't remember offhand. He's like, I've got a 16 or a 16 and a quarter on the rack. It's got a Cerakote action housing on it. The barrel is black. It's a 16-inch, 0.92-inch Walther steel barrel in black on a black Magpul Hunter X22 stock. And I'm like, wow, this is sounding right down my alley. I'd already talked to several other gun manufacturers here in Utah and other folks that produce guns for competition shooting, and I was worried about the 16 and a quarter, but I'm shooting that now, so I'm like, why would I be worried with a obviously custom built barrel with a specific match grade chamber that puts the bullet right on the lands and grooves in that chamber. There's no jump in that. It's just right there. So, I said, that sounds right up my alley for what I'm looking at. He goes, well, let me send you some pictures. And as soon as he sent me some pictures, I was pretty much like enamored just with the sight of the gun as it was, the black barrel, I'll get some close-ups here, the black barrel and the Cerakote finish, the X22 stock. You see there, color's probably not going to reproduce the same on a camera. See if I can get a little closer to that. There you can sort of see, sort of like a flat earth color. And Clark Custom Guns is etched on the action here as well. Now this is a standard 22 that's been just worked up for more accurate shooting. So the barrel, of course, has been replaced. It's not threaded. It is fitted very similar to a standard Ruger barrel, but the key and bolts are manufactured specifically to the barrel and the action housing itself. So when the barrel is fitted, this barrel, if it needs any adjustments, is fitted to that action housing. And that key is made specifically to fit those notches and that with very little tolerance, which is the other thing I really found interesting, was that they're not using CNC or anything. They're using absolutely old school engineering techniques and machining like we would have seen 50 years ago. The barrel, like I said, is blacked. I don't know that we can really get a good look at the crown here. Let me turn it around and get some better light on it. It's got a really nice crown on the end here. Came with a weaver rail. I'm going to switch that out for a Picatinny just so I have greater adjustability. In that is also the quick release, which is put in here when they do the trigger job and rebuild the trigger housing. It's got a really nice stop. There's no over travel. I've dry fired this thing a little bit. There's absolutely no creep. There's no pre-travel on this at all, and there is no travel after the trigger fires. So this is it. Clark Custom, built with the Clark trigger, which some people say is, for the money, one of the better triggers you can get. And they're building it right there the way it's been modified over years. The 16¼ inch Walther steel barrel. Let me see here. We have here the Clark 22. A lot of glare, hard to focus. It gets so close there. Clark 22 is roll stamped in there, and the rest of it is laser cut into the barrel. As you can see by the markings here, it is a regular 22 in its genealogy and birth. I'm anxious to shoot it. Hopefully that'll be in the next day or so. They test fire everything at 50 yards. This one, what he had was some CCI. What did he call it? Oh, the green tag. He said it's all I had in the shop. They usually use SK Standard Plus, but it had green tag. So I didn't measure that out yet. Maybe when I do a video on changing out some of the other stuff, adding the cheek risers and the length of pull spacers, I'll measure that out at that particular point in time. Very anxious to shoot this with the Hunter X22 stock. Picked this up at Cal Ranch. They were not familiar with a Clark Custom 1022, and boy, was it inspected well. And, the other thing we can't really see is in the back of the receiver when you move this out. It's below the line of the stock. There is a groove cut in there, so you can actually clean this from the back forward instead of pushing everything from the front back. So that is outstanding. If you're looking for a 22 and you want something different, and heck, maybe I've got the first one in Utah, that would be cool. I'm not sure. But check out Clark Custom Guns in Princeton, Louisiana. Absolutely wonderful people to talk to. I just call them talk about guns if you want. But yeah, so here it is. It's shipped in this box. Not wrapped in protective stuff in a cardboard box, but wrapped in some foam inside of this this gun case with the test shooting, and quite nice. More to come on this in the future.